Hello, everyone, and welcome to the rest of the series that we're doing with the men of Greater Works Christian Church. And now, the show.
Anyway, be teachable, stay humble, and get yourself under the right leadership.
That's so good. It's really good.
Can I interject on something?
Okay, go ahead.
Real quick.
Interjection.
Then you can have it, Jose. Then it'll be on you.
gonna
I
forget.
appreciate that, Todd, but the reality of it is, at least with you, I don't think I taught you anything on being a man. You were there. It's just, it seems like in our society that the real men just need permission to be a real man.
Exactly.
Not to feel like, oh, if I do something, they're going to label me toxic. You know, I'm a toxic masculine man. No, not around here. True masculinity is never toxic.
Yeah.
It's the toxic ones are feminized men. They're toxic.
Absolutely.
But real men, never toxic.
Agreed.
No.
So, Todd, you are a real man, and these gentlemen that I'm sitting up here with, sharing this stage, all of you are real men, and that's why I love hanging out with you guys.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
So I'm sorry, just
It's okay. No, I was just, when Andre was talking, it just reminded me, I was looking back on his faith walk, the one I was able to see when he started coming to our church, or to this church. And I've seen him, we all do, but I've seen him in just maturing, right? From like a young adult to a husband, a father, and even a mentor to like the young disciples, right? I've seen that, but because of the atmosphere he allowed himself to be a part of, he was in it, so he got to see it, not just hear it, reading the scriptures, yes, but he got to see it implemented by these guys right here, the men,
good.
right? And other men that came in. So when he's seen it, I got to see like that transition where it's like, no, he knows what he is worth and what his family is worth, what his wife is worth, what his children is worth, and he knows how to go after it. But because of the example that was set, right?
Yeah.
The action, not just the words. And I say the same thing.
Very good.
From the older gentleman to the younger gentleman, I get to see all these dynamics of how to be a good husband, a good father, a good member of the community, right?
Yeah.
A good server,
Yeah.
or a good servant, should I say. But because of the example and allowing myself and choosing to be present.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an event going on, I'll make the next one.
Yeah.
What if there isn't a next one?
Yes.
Then I'm going to complain, oh, well, none of the guys ever hang out with me. How am I going to learn from it? Well, you're not making yourself available.
Right.
You have to step out in faith, right? You have to, not even in faith, but just step out, put yourself out there. And yeah, it might be a risk. You might get ignored. But what if you don't?
Right.
What if you don't?
Yeah.
You don't know what might happen. But in you being obedient, right, God can work with that because he knows your heart.
Yeah.
So he knows now you're trying to change.
Yeah.
I can meet you because God's a gentleman. He's not going to force himself on you and be like, whoa, here, you got to go this way. No, you got to go this way.
Yeah.
No, he hints you and he puts people in your path to tell you, to show you, go this way, go that way, don't do that, right? But again, we have to make ourselves available. And like Todd was saying, be honorable, be honorable, respectful, be teachable.
Yeah.
All right? So I just wanted to share
That's true.
that.
That's
yeah.
like the scripture, right, where it says there's going to be a voice behind you that'll come behind you and tell you which way to go. So true.
Yeah, you really have to apply yourself. Even going back to what you just made me think of, we've done so many amazing books, like we've done so many different leadership men's books. We've done men's purity classes. We've, all of that. And going back to what you said, Jose, you have to apply yourself as a man, not shrink back. All throughout Scripture, men are applying themselves and living out the wisdom or the Word of God, and that's where you see the fruit.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Jesus. Jesus didn't sit back and say, okay, God, I'm the Son of God, make all this stuff happen. He had to apply himself and show his disciples what a real man of God looks like and, fulfill his mission. So, men out there, encourage you. Get rooted in the church, apply yourself. Go to the men's book clubs. Go to, the men's gym sessions. We have every Thursday night at the church. They come and they work out. That's another thing, by the way. We need more testosterone. We need more grass-fed beef. Stop eating, junk stuff. Eat real stuff, because that also has to do with your masculinity.
No.
No soy, estrogen, nonsense stuff.
Yeah.
But apply yourself. Be applicable. And another thing, be accountable.
Yes.
Accountability is the biggest thing. You've been teaching about Elijah and Elisha. You see that all throughout Scripture. So accountability, I feel like a lot of men, at least for my generation, the millennials, we don't want accountability. We want to do our own thing. We want to run around with pink socks and it's just fruity stuff, you know. So get accountable. That's another thing that's truly changed my life is being accountable.
Yeah.
Being an accountable, and it wasn't people that came to me and said, "Hey, man, let me be your mentor. You say kinds of crazy stuff," but it was like, "Hey, I see in the Word. I need to line up to this Word. I can't do it alone. Can you be my mentor?
Yeah.
Can I call you? Can I text you? Pray for me."
Yeah.
And that's what's led to like what you said, you know, seeing these men, but also applying yourself to it. That's where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
Goodyear, commercial for Goodyear.
No, I agree. And there's been countless, and I use again the word loosely, right? I've seen countless men that are like, well, I showed up once and this didn't happen and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, nobody's entitled to make space for you. Nobody's entitled to, especially as a man, right? The way that I've seen it, like the men that I've seen persevere around me are men that showed up even when they didn't receive the warm welcome, right? Like, and I mean, this can go for both men and females, but it's just like, you know, everybody expects that they're going to walk into a space and they're going to be like greeted and welcomed and hugged. But it's just like, first of all, it's not always going to work like that. Like, it's not a support group, you know, like you're entering into real life, and real life is difficult. And real life, you know, I know for me, like I wouldn't invest my time for somebody that is just gonna come and receive only. I want somebody that's gonna sow and invest, that I know that if I pour myself into that person, they're gonna bring back an investment, right? Whether it be being able to see the fruit in their life, that they're gonna prosper, that they're actually multiplying what's being poured into them. How much more with men, right? Where you guys are called to be the leaders, that you're called to be the head, not just of families, but of the nation. Like, you guys are supposed to, right? Thank God for this infrastructure that was created by men, right? And so to me, it's just like when I hear that from men, like it, and thank God for A-Rob, right, that has allowed me to see the example of that. Because now I'm just like, dude, like, even thank A-Rob, even down to the handshake. Like when somebody came like this and did this little, I was like,
Or no
disgusting.
calluses,
Yeah.
Red flag.
Yeah, I was like, you're not hired. Get out of my office, you know? And so it's things like that. And so I really appreciate that. Now, so I have to ask, right, because we have such a dynamic group, like, what would you guys say to those that are already married, right? They're already married, they're in a bad situation, but they're listening to this podcast, or they're having the epiphany, the revelation, God is tugging at their heart, and they're just like, you know what, like, I want to turn this sinking ship around. Like, what advice would you give to those men? Like, and like, as Andre was saying, like, practical advice. So what would be that first step in your opinion? And I will start with Jose.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Scripture says, like God says, ask for wisdom, right? Pray, ask for wisdom, and He will give you wisdom.
Yeah.
The other thing is the accountability. You need accountability. How do you know? What's your measure? You know, of the standard, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing good, or if you're not doing good, how do you know that? So you need accountability to guide you in that direction, right? But one of the things about accountability is that men fear accountability because it means correction. They don't want to be corrected because we know it all.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if we have an orphan spirit, like we have that mentality of we don't know our identity, and then when someone's correcting us, it's like we just put up a wall.
Right.
But little do they know, well, at least not here, we know, that being held accountable is like you start to find out what other men are struggling in the same areas that you're struggling in, right? So now you're like, okay, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen them overcome it. He's past it, and now he's mentoring others in that same area.
Sure.
And it's like, so I can do it too.
Yeah.
So it's a testimony, you know, that's repeating itself. But if you're allowing yourself to be held accountable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just come to GWCC.
No, that's so good. Even the word says that if you're not being disciplined by God, then you're not a son of God, right? That God disciplines the ones who He loves. So if you expect to, I mean, you can go through life and not be disciplined and go, you know, wherever your free spirit, and that's really a spirit of bondage, that wherever it's leading you, but at the end of the day, like, then you're not really where you're at with the Lord, where you think that you're at with God. Because if it's, you know, the Lord, yeah, He loves to work in chaos, but He also brings order to the chaos. He doesn't leave you in the chaos. So there's such a wrong theology there that I just don't understand if people would just read the word. Toddy.
I like to read the word. Again, there's Proverbs. It says, lean not on your own understanding, but seek God's, wisdom. And that's where it all starts, is wisdom. But in practicality to doing that, if you feel like you're failing and things aren't going in the way you want it to, and you need to turn that Queen Mary around. Find somebody, a mentor, somebody that you trust, and that's doing it right. And again, I have to say, just be teachable and be humble and be ready to accept constructive criticism. If you're teachable, it will turn around. If you start making the right decisions and leaning on God and praying for His wisdom, and again, like Jose said, be accountable. It'll turn around, but you have to be teachable. You have to stay humble.
That's good. Just go.
So I'm gonna take a slightly different approach. You know, Todd is definitely a lot more holy than I am. No, and that's good. That's one aspect of it. And you know, so you got the spiritual aspect, and then you got the physical aspect. Okay, so let's go after the physical. If you're gonna be a man, right? If you're not happy with what your situation is in your marriage, if you're unhappy with, you know, if you're failing, you know you're failing, and you're stuck in this cycle, be a man. Do something about it. Like, don't just sit there and mope and just, oh, woe is me, and the whole world's out to get me. Like, the world didn't put you in that spot. You got to that spot. Be a man. Take inventory. Do something about it. Go. You're designed to be a winner. If you're losing, it's because you put yourself there.
Right.
So you can't be doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Like, that's not being a man.
Sure.
Being a man is finding, okay, I got a situation. I don't like the current situation I'm in. How am I going to get out of this? Take inventory. If you're man enough, ask your wife.
Oof.
What am I doing wrong? What do I need to improve?
That's good.
And if you're man enough, do something about it.
Yeah.
Going back to the accountability, if your wife can point out some things and what can help you as a couple address those, okay? If there's other things, you know, the financials and all that, okay, what do I got to do to make more money? What do I got to do to be more stable? What do I got to do to be more available for my kids, for my wife, for all that? Take inventory and do something about it.
That's good.
The biggest issue I've seen with a lot of guys is that they realize they're failing. They somewhat want to change. They're scared of going through the process, but they don't have that winning mentality. They don't have that go get them anymore. They've lost it for whatever reason, and that's not us as men. Even as little boys, you know, going back to playing, like you're saying, like you got to beat the bully. You got to do that.
Yeah.
You know, we play, you know, when you're going on the playground, you always wanted to be the most mighty superhero, right? Because you wanted to be better than your friends. You wanted to be the one that's on top of the place that's saying, I'm the champion.
Yeah.
Like, that drive is in us.
Yeah.
That's us as men. Why so many men enjoy sports is that competitive nature in men.
Yeah.
So the ones that are stuck in that moping stage have lost that competitive edge, and they got to change it.
That's so good.
Got to be a man. Like, slap yourself. I don't care what you got to do. Like, do something about it.
Let Deuce go slap you. Greater Works Christian Church.
Miguel, I'm not that holy, but you know, the person has to be teachable and want to ask for help first. When they come and ask me for help, then I unload on them.
Smack
Slap
down.
them first, and then be
slap 'em.
moldable.
They go get brewed up by Mr. Brewer.
You're right. I did only ask for the first step, so I didn't let you go into that part. Rian?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a loaded question that you're asking because it cuts to money, so many aspects of one's life. So for me, if I can sum up what everybody is saying and I want to give it one word, I would say relationship. And obviously you're speaking about fixing the relationship, but built into that is the money aspect, you know, and sometimes money is stuff. It doesn't mean the marriage is faulty. It's not that you did something wrong on purpose. You know, it's just you work through it. So, you know, the relationship is one thing. And as a personal man, I think my first relationship is to God as Father, and He's fathering me and He's allowing me. And then again, being like you guys in a healthy house, having a spiritual father. And then and I'm speaking about my own need. Having a guy friend also helps.
Yeah.
And you know, us guys are a little weird. I don't need 20. I really don't need 20. I just need that one guy at 3 o'clock in the morning that I can say, listen, we're gonna go assassinate somebody that touched my daughter. You understand? Just somebody legit, real that.
Which car are we taking?
Exactly. This is all I need.
Yeah.
This is all I need. Somebody that is real that I can say. Again, we take up the menu. It's like I saw this woman and this image can't get out of my mind. You know, I can't tell that to my wife. You know what she's going to do? So, you know, where you can be totally vulnerable and accountable and not be judged. And I can hear that men's group is there. And that will get you whole. And the other thing, you're in it for the long run. You know, I mean, I'm married 16 years, and just as I think now we're going to get it, it's like playing golf. Now, finally, I've got it, then yep, there it goes this way. So you're in it for the long run. So with what measurement are you measuring that success? Because if you measure with money, then, I mean, and I'm using a South African example. So we had a guy that came to hunt on a farm with us, and he was literally lighting one cigarette with the other one. I mean, that guy was stressed out of his mind, and you will know, you will find out why, because he was, you know, he was getting his 5th divorce. He had a 6th girlfriend, and the 7th one was already planning the marriage. And I mean, like, everybody knew that was the problem, and he said, no, that ain't the problem. And now you got me curious. So what is the problem? He says, no, he's earning 3 million rand a year, a month. You know how much that is? That's like $150,000 a month he's earning. I mean, that's a heck of a lot of money. And you should be problemless. He says, no, I can't sleep because I'm deathly afraid I'm going to lose that money. I don't know how am I going to cope. So relationally wise, you know, you got to connect somewhere, you got to offload somewhere, and you got to be, like you say, held accountable. And for me, it's easy to be held accountable by somebody that I can see is walking the line. And so sorry for the long answer, but it's a loaded question. So what is success? With what do you measure of that? For me, to stay on track is relationship.
Yeah, so good.
My turn?
Roberto.
Okay. I really appreciate what everybody had to say about this, because it's all so true. So if I look at somebody, and we've had these discussions with some people, so life is just not where they want it to be, and they're frustrated and they're angry and they want better. Okay, number one, if the person's not if the man, I'm dealing with the man, not in church, get your butt in church.
Right.
And don't just go sit in the back and be quiet. Get plugged in.
Yeah.
If there's a men's group, get into the men's group. Those types of things. You know, stretch yourself. Sit on the front row or as close to it as possible. I personally don't even like that. But I find that when you're up here closer, you're getting more just by proximity.
Yeah.
It's the strangest thing. You hide it in the back, you're still hiding, you know, kind of a thing. Get involved, get plugged in, be accountable. Find some strong men that you could be accountable to, spiritually especially, but find those men that are living the life that you want and hang out with them, because they'll show you how to get there just by virtue of hanging out with them. You hang out with a bum, you become a bum. I mean, that's just the way it works. Physically, in the natural, make yourself, and I tell people all this all the time, more in the work world, but this can work anywhere. Make yourself more marketable. Meaning, get the information and get what you need to be more successful, to get the life that you want. You know, if you're living in a really bad neighborhood, a gentleman told me one time that his wife was really scared because of the neighborhood they lived in, scared. She was afraid to leave the house, and he didn't know what to do. It was causing problems in their marriage and that. And I gave him a solution. It was this simple. Move.
M-O-V-E, buddy.
Move. And he got mad at me because, well, it's just not that easy. I was like, okay, number one, I never said being a man was easy. And I never said that even selling your home from wherever you're living is super easy. But it's doable because millions of people do it every day. Move. Figure, like you were saying earlier, figure out a way. Get into a neighborhood and into a home that your wife can flourish in. So sometimes it's just that simple. And we sometimes make it so difficult because we don't want to make those steps of change. I don't know why, but a lot of men, people in general, but men don't like change. They want to keep doing the same thing and have the world respond to what they're doing. Like, I want to do the same thing. I don't want to change anything about me. Now the world has to change so I can have a better life. Sorry. I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, or they become victims, and then the addictions come in, and all these things, and they become disassociated with life, right?
It's that victim mentality. It's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
This is like I think all of you said it on one way or another. You just got to man up and make the change and do it. Men do hard things.
Right.
Do it.
Absolutely. Love it. Great advice. Andre?
Yeah, I was gonna say I was saying this is an ice cream cone, but
All
it's not.
right.
I was gonna bite on it. No, actually, A-Rob touched on what I was thinking this whole time. Change. I feel like if you're failing, you're comfortable, and you're comfortable in your failure, and you kind of wallow and whop in that. So, do hard things. Do uncomfortable things. I've noticed in my life a lot of growth has just come from doing uncomfortable things. And some of these examples might sound funny, but doing cold dips. People don't like cold water. That's extremely uncomfortable, but it does something so interesting in your brain, and even with your endorphins and your testosterone, lifting heavier weights. It sounds silly, but doing uncomfortable and difficult things really grows you and strengthens you and stretches you as a man. And even on the job, stretch yourself. Don't just do what's in your scope of work. I've noticed one reason why I've gotten promoted so much so quickly is because I'm doing things outside of my scope of work. And people take notice of that. You become more marketable that way too. But that's doing something difficult, and that's getting you to the next level. So that's what I would say is don't be comfortable. Do something difficult on purpose. And maybe to some of you guys out there, you're so introverted that just come into church is something difficult, and do it, right? Maybe some of you guys out there, you're so comfortable, you just want to hide and play video games all day. Well, go outside and take a walk. That might sound difficult. Do it. That's the first step, right? So we learned that at the men's summit we did last year. It was really hard, and the thing that kept drilling in us was men do hard things. Be each other's accountability partners, but if someone is falling behind, don't just let them sit there in their failure. Like, pick them up, encourage them, sharpen them. Come on, Proverbs 27:17. Get up, we got to go. We got more mountains to take over. And so that's what I would recommend. And then after you're done, go get yourself some frozen yogurt.
That's really good.
Real quick, though, on the financial side, even thinking about before getting married and you're worried about finances and stuff, or even after you've been married for a few years and you're dealing with a financial issue, kind of like Dusko said, man up, figure out what you need to change. A-Rob said said the same thing. If you're in a dead end job that's not working out, some things that I thought about was, get yourself into a trade school. You can do a trade school, that you can get through in 4 to 6 months and learn a trade and get yourself into electrical or plumbing or HVAC or like my son did. He went 4 months into school and he's a lineman and he's making a ton of money right now. There's schools out there that can teach you something, how to use your hands and stuff like that make good money out there. So again, it's tough to make that initial change, but if that's what you need to do to put yourself in a better financial position, then you just got to bite the bullet and make it happen.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I love all of this advice. It's been great. I think a lot of men are definitely gonna hopefully take this and run with it. You guys made me think of this thing on social media that I saw during these hurricanes that have been happening. It was a picture of a man that was carrying the wife of another man who was in the front, and the husband was carrying the shoes in the bag, while the other man was carrying his wife. And so then I think it was VictorMarx that posted it, and he's like, don't be the man carrying the shoes. And it's just like, it's funny, right? Because everybody thinks that there's, again, people, they don't have a concept of eternity, right? Ecclesiastes, it says that there's a time for everything, right? And so having wisdom and having discernment is knowing what to do with the time during eternity, right? And so it's crazy because I feel like what society tries to do is tries to lull us into thinking that there's not an urgency. But imagine if more of the men would have prepared, like you guys said, the exercising, the finances and everything. I'm sure there was men that they saw the hurricane coming and they were just panicking because they didn't know how to protect their family, versus those that had prepared for such a time and knew how to respond rather to react, right? And so then as a man, you have to learn to respond to the things that can happen and you have to prepare. And God does that. God allows you to do that. There's discernment that comes with the Holy Ghost, right? And what I love is, I have this panel here, but I can bring in an entirely different panel from the other men in the church that are doing the exact same thing. And what's amazing is that there's this culture that's created in this church, right? And I'm talking about this church because it's the church that I come to. And it's where I've seen it, right? And I've been to a lot of churches, as you guys have heard me mention before, but it's always been feminized men. It's been men that don't, like, they're congregating together, but they're talking smack about each other. And there's this lack of respect and honor. And so to me, it's just like, seeing it from a woman's perspective, I'm able to discern now, right? Even when I go out into society, okay, that guy's a red flag because he wouldn't be able to handle X, Y, and Z. And so with that being said, a question that the girls and I had on the panel, it's like, okay, you're seeing society, you're seeing as it is. And I'm not saying that women are blameless, because I can for sure, I can point out just one or two flaws that we have. But with that, like, what would you say to women that are, looking for a husband, or maybe not looking for a husband, but they're waiting for that? What advice, we presented it much nicely in the outline. Because all of you guys here have daughters, all of you. And so what advice would you give to your daughters when it comes to finding a godly man?
Can I, before we jump to that, I just want to touch, because you mentioned some things, and we were talking about, just do something, and, your son becoming a lineman, making more money and all that. So there is the aspect of money, and we know that, finances brings a lot of stress in marriages just in general, right? Lack of finances, or, how the finances are being spent, whatever. So there is that. And there is a call to action, right? If you're not making enough, figure out a way to make more money. Go to school, whatever, do it. But one of the quickest raises you can get is ensuring that you're on the same level with your spouse in your situation. So now, if your spouse has a thought of, we're in the worst place we could be, we're 10 out of 10, this is the worst thing, we're not making enough money, we're not happy, we don't have enough time, yada, yada, yada. But then you as a husband, if you think, it's really not that bad, we're probably like, 2 out of 10. If you guys aren't on the same level, no matter what you do, like, you're never going to be content.
Sure.
One of the first things you should do is make sure that you're aligned with your spouse in the current situation you're in. What's your end goal? And once you settle that, the stress drops down, and then you're able to mesh with your wife. You're able to see the same things, and things aren't as heavy as they once were. So that's the fastest way to get a raise, because let's be honest, like, if you're going to go to school, it's going to take a couple years to get the promotion. Like, it doesn't just always happen, overnight. It happens faster for some than others, right?
Yeah.
But the fastest way you can feel like you got a raise financially, it's not going to be a tangible thing. It's going to be that stress off your shoulder of the situation you're in. And the only way to do that is to get on the same plane with your spouse. Make sure that your spouse understands what you're going through. You both have the same targets, and then you get that support from your spouse.
That's good.
That's going to remove all the weight off your shoulder. Then you're able to think clear. You're able to actually be effective, and you're not just being active to make noise. You're actually being active to reach your goal.
That's
So I think that was kind of important to touch
Communication, not communism.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well said, I agree.
Yeah, and I think, like, to tear into your question as far as what advice would I give my daughters, for example, on what to look for is, okay, step one, communication, right? Is the guy that you're going to be speaking to or potentially lining up to marry, is that someone that you can talk to? Is that someone that's going to respect your opinions as well? Is that someone that, can articulate what his goals and ambitions are? Because if there is no goals and ambitions, then it's like a shotgun. You're not really aiming anywhere. You're just gonna end up wherever you end up. So that'd be the first thing is, can they communicate what they're feeling, what they want, and their desires? Step one. The next thing I would be, telling my kids is, what's their track history? Have they been able to overcome obstacles? Have they been able to make changes in their lives? Because that's an indication. If someone's stuck in the same spot, they haven't been through that challenge yet. How do you know how they're going to act, or if they're going to crumble, if they're going to come out successful? I would ask them, what things have they overcome, and kind of see, if not test that ability. You know, do you have someone that's going to be, that can adapt to the situation and overcome, or do you have someone that's just going to freeze out, like the hurricane thing, you know? Because I want them to be with someone that's going to be able to make moves on the fly, and this is the best decision for our family. You know, I don't want my daughter to be in a relationship where she's constantly has to come to me. Now, granted, I'm always available to give them advice, but I shouldn't be her number one response when stuff isn't, you know, going right. They should be able to handle most of their problems and then get counseling into it, but I shouldn't be the one to come to, you know, Dad, come save me, Dad, come save me. So that'd be some of the things that I would tell my daughters is, you know, can they talk to you, and do they have a problem solving mindset?
That's good.
I think those are two key things in a man. And then obviously, you know, the respect, and, you know, do they respect you, and do they want you to exceed and not just make them food and clean the house, you know?
Very fit and pregnant. Who else? I won't have an order here. Who would like to go next?
Well, let me start saying this about, unfortunately, you young ladies today. You don't have a lot to pick from.
Well, we know. We know.
I mean, all the best men out there are sitting on this stage, and we're all taken.
Okay, relax.
Great job. Great job.
Now,
great job.
I'm not saying that so much
Amen.
to pat us on the back, but I genuinely feel sorry for the young ladies, Christian young ladies, that are looking for a decent husband. It's slim pickings out there. You know, but number one, make sure that person, that young man, find them locked into a good church. And this takes a little bit of time, but make sure that they are true men, that they're taking care of business. Now, pre-marriage, you know, maybe still living with their parents up to a certain age, you know, they're not taking care of a lot of business, but it doesn't take long to figure out, is this somebody who's going to take care of business? Somebody who's going to take care of me? Is this somebody who's going to man up? Is this somebody who maybe 5 years down the line realizes, wow, we're really struggling, is going to go make themselves more marketable, work on it, change, come to you for your advice, because the two do become one flesh. Yeah, he's the head, but you're still one flesh and needs you, or will need you, you know, in that sense. And so honestly, I mean, I'm looking at some of the young men out there, and it's more like they're more like older boys instead of young men. And I'm being honest. I'm not trying to even be mean or anything like that. It's just, it is what it is. So, you know, and I'm going to plug our church, Greater Works Christian Church, Lancaster, California.
Sunday mornings, 10:30.
Having even a church and a group of men that are going to challenge one another is so important. So if it's not GWCC, it's being plugged into a church that is led by somebody who's going to challenge them. And again, men's meetings and things like that, that'll keep them accountable spiritually, but also keep them accountable, I'll say it like this, masculine. You know, are you manning up and doing what you're supposed to do? Or are you still acting like, you know, you're 22, 25, 30, still acting like a little boy? Spend more time. And I'm not against video games at all. But when somebody can spend 8 hours in front of their TV talking to their friend on the thing, playing video games, and they gets upset that they have to go work 4 hours part-time, that's not marriage material. That's not man material. That's barely male material.
That's the distraction.
Yeah. Are they that distracted? Because I remember when I first met Linda, I was head over heels with her. I wanted to get it, and I went and got a better job. I started working towards that because I wanted that woman. I wanted her. And I look back now, and I was just a kid, but I was man enough to know I wanted her. So I went and got a better job. You know, and then when we got engaged, and just before our wedding, we got together and bought a car because we were soon to get married, and that was her new car. You know, and we were finding places to live that was safe and such. Even before we were married, we were getting counsel from the men in the church. And again, we still made a lot of mistakes, but 35 years later, we're still together. Yeah. Because I understood that drive then, and I understand that drive now. Right. You know, so it's really finding guys that have that drive to create a world for wife, soon to be wife, and future children.
It's really good. Anybody else? Rian? Sorry, were you about
Yeah,
to?
yeah. So for me, what am I doing at the moment is not just for my two daughters, but for my son as well. I am reaffirming in them periodically and telling them, listen, I'm praying with you and we're trusting Jesus for the right mate. So, and I've been doing that for a couple of years already. And I can see, especially like my Danica, she's a little older. I can see every time I does that, she gives it a little blush smile, but I can see it drips all the way down into her heart. So it gives her that sense of security. As far as giving my children away to somebody else, I ain't giving them to the wolves. I'm sorry. There's just no way about it. So, is there perfect science? No. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get until you open the package, I guess. The wife that I've married and the wife that I dated were a little different. Okay. So when after she got married, I'm like, oh, is this now? Once they don't have the makeup on, then you see something else. Okay. So I'm just saying, okay. But the Jewish culture, it got something correct. And I'm not saying I'm going to meet the dad of the other guy and we're going to decide they're going to get married. But there is a great depth of truth in how does whoever's dating my daughter or my son, how does that mom and dad relate? Because 7 out of 10 of what you are today is your mom and your dad. And if if the dad speaks bad to the mom, the son is going to speak bad to my daughter, and I'm going to beat him up. So if and again, like success, if the dad is a go-getter, the son will become a go-getter. And so for me, and I'm saying for my future family, if we don't have to barbecue every weekend, but I have certain flags that I'm looking for. How solid is the family? Now, my family life was a little broken up as well as growing up. So I can't say if you're coming from a broken house, you're not worthy of marriage. But if you come from a wholesome family, the bar is just so much easier to stay wholesome. And a funny thing, a little off the topic, but same thought. I've seen so many preacher kids, like celebrity preachers. Then it's like they find the worst rubbish on the planet. It's like, I just don't know why, and they do it again and again and again and again. And so for me, towards my children, I'm reassuring them now, and I ain't going to give them to the wolves. There's no way.
That's good.
Okay.
That's really good. Yeah, family dynamics definitely matter.
Must.
Yeah. Joseph?
I was going to say, well, you heard earlier, I don't have my biological daughter, but I do have my former foster daughters, who are my daughters. I love very much. And I would say to them, charm is deceiving, looks fade away. You're not always going to be attracted physically to that person because it changes, right? So choose somebody that's going to desire you, not lust after you.
That's good.
Okay? The other thing is get so close to God. Going back to being marketable, right? Yes, be marketable, but put yourself in a different market. So be so close to God that you don't have to look for a man. The man has to look for you. And in order to get to you, he has to go through Jesus and finds Jesus, hopefully. Right? So I would say those things. And it's easy for people to fall in love and fall out of love. So again, you want to look for somebody that's going to desire you. Not somebody that just says, I love you because of the way you look, but they honestly desire you. They want you around because they love your presence, right? They love your time. They love you just being with them because they compliment you and you compliment them. And the other thing for my daughters, I call them every name in the book as far as like affirmations, as far as like you're beautiful, sunshine, princess, queen, my flower, so many things. So when they get old enough and a guy's calling these things from across the street, whistling at them, saying, hey, baby, that's nothing, because they've heard it so much that they have to go above and beyond that to be able to even get close to her. So just those type of things.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one. So I make it a point. My daughters, I'll tell them I love them. I tell them they're beautiful. I tell them they're smart. I tell them I love them literally almost every time I walk by them in the hallway or whatever it is. So much so that I've realized they'll come up to me randomly and just give me a hug and, Dad, give me a kiss, I love you, and just out of nowhere. Like usually, you'll see it in other parents. The parent will say, I love you, and then I love you too. But I've noticed my kids will they'll literally come upstairs just to say hi, give me a hug, and say, Dad, I love you. And it's not like they just got home. They've been home. We've seen each other for hours, But because I've instilled it in their mind that they're constantly, when Dad's around, I'm giving them a hug, I'm giving them a kiss, I'm saying you're beautiful, I love you. It's become something that I guess naturally they crave. Yeah. So to my daughters, I want them to know, when they get to that age, like if a man's not respecting you to that and loving you to that level, like that's not enough. Like the next man should outdo me. I understand there's a love between a parent and a child that it's like no other. But I'm setting that bar for the next person. We joked about it before early on with Emma, because Emma has kind of expensive taste. Sushi, steak, and kombuchas, right? And it's like she was 4 when she started this, and I'm like, man, she's gonna be an expensive one. But I set that bar for that next guy. So if that next guy can step up to the plate to what she's accustomed to, both monetarily and spiritually, and just a loving nature, then that's not gonna cut it. And so my advice to them is, once your bar set, do not accept anything less than that. No. You're just setting yourself up for years of either, if he's going to catch up, years of him catching up, or, he's just, if he's not at that bar, he's just not meant to be there. He's not going to ever get there. Yeah. So don't waste the time. Don't waste the best years of your life, your youth, on trying to catch up to the bar you set early on.
Yeah. That's good. And I agree. What I'm saying is, like, I'm just adding to what everyone here has said, because yes, definitely I want to implement all of that and pour that into my daughters. But one thing that just came to mind, literally just saw a picture of my wife. Don't put up a front. Don't be saying all these things to your daughters if you're not saying it to your wife. The kids see that. They see right through it. So they automatically going to know that, wait, if you're treating Mom this way, but you're saying you love me this much, they're gonna see the disconnect there. Right. And again, the proof is in the pudding. When they see you guys, how we've been talking about it, put into action towards our wives, then that's when they believe it. Yeah.
Good. Drizzy?
Yeah, the guy has to talk to me first. Then I figure it out. Agree with what everyone said. I think that's a good statement. We should all say all the time. We say so much good stuff. It's like, yeah, I agree with what they said. One thing that I would like to add to that, besides, because it is a loaded question, is watch how they treat other people around. Watch how that man treats his parents, siblings. If you get a chance to see him at work, watch how he treats his coworkers. Watch how he treats his boss, if possible. Because that's the same treatment you're also going to get, because that's become unconscious the way that man is wired. To add to, setting the standard, the affirmations, how you treat your wife, make sure the kids see that. So I think that's really important. And another thing is praying for your daughters at an early age. And then that's going to create an expectation for that man to also be a man of prayer. A man of prayer, and to do Bible study and to pray together. That's really important. And so, already Zariah, before we go to sleep, she's used to, Daddy, pray for me. And she puts her head out so I can put my hand on her head and pray for her. And then Mommy's right next, So getting her accustomed to the right things, then unconsciously she's going to know what to look for in a man too. But I have a lot of questions.
Trial by fire.
Whoever that might be.
You got a lot of manly friends.
Yeah.
Correct. And I got a lot of tough manly friends.
Yeah.
That lift a lot of weight and eat a lot of beef.
All right. The sage.
I have a lot of questions too. And, it is a broad spectrum, you asked what we would say to our daughters, and obviously our daughters were homeschooled, and so we grew up in a good environment, and there was a lot of teaching in that. There was a lot of education for fathers in that environment, and I thank my wife for that, because she drugged me into a lot of those, sessions, and I listened to a lot of, well, I'm going to date myself, cassette tapes and CDs, and a lot of teaching when you're driving 1 hour back and forth to work. So I learned a lot of stuff through that. So fathers should educate themselves on, how to deal with that when that time comes. So I had some education, like Andre said, and I have questions. And so I had a lot of questions prepared. If you're fortunate enough and your daughters, are raised properly, they'll abide by your request to vet these individuals when they come knocking at the door. And I was fortunate to be able to do that. And some of those questions were pretty hard for some of these guys. But my daughter's prerequisite is they're going to come to me before, to get my approval. And that's when the questions came, and some conversation. So if you're asking for young ladies that may not have the father to go to, or maybe in the church, my suggestion to them would be to, again, when they think they're, obviously we want our children to not be unequally yoked. So they need to be born again Christians. Yeah. Okay, obviously sometimes we don't say that, but depending on who we're talking about, you don't want to be unequally yoked. That's starting out with problems. So if I'm talking to the daughter or a daughter in the church, make sure that this gentleman has a good firm foundation. And if they don't know about that, I would suggest to them that they have these gentlemen, and it was already said here within the group, is get involved with the men in the church, but have them vetted out. And ask the men in the church if they don't mind, because I've had this discussion before. We hate to see the young ladies, have to go through difficult situations.
Sure.
But if you want our advice, you need to come and ask us, okay? Because I have a lot of advice, but I won't hand it out unless I'm invited to do that.
It's not free.
Well, it's free.
I'll charge,
but
it's free for you.
I want to be asked. Okay, I don't like to put my opinion on somebody. I use that term a lot. If you want my opinion, I will give it to you, but I'm not going to force it upon you. So have these gentlemen vetted, and where we can make eye contact and use the Holy Spirit's wisdom and revelation and kind of look through these people and get a feel for that. And I think that would probably save a lot of heartache.
Yeah, you're going to go through a much stronger background check than top secret government clearances. And then once you're done, you're going to kiss the pinky ring before you get to marry my daughter.
I wish I could say he was kidding, but
I have a pinky ring.
As the godmother of his daughter, I will say that I come into agreement. All right, you guys. So it's been a hefty conversation. I hope you guys have enjoyed the advice that you've received today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are just so excited to be able to provide this information for you guys. This is top tier information that I think is definitely life-changing. And so with that, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. And as always, tune in next week. We're here for you. Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you liked this episode, or we answered any of your questions, or you have a question you would like discussed in future episodes, let us know in the comments or share on social media at @inthevine.connects. And be sure to hit subscribe so you won't miss out on the amazing content and guests we have lined up for you. To find out about our upcoming events and more, please visit our website at www.inthevine.org.